Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. It's great to be back. Today I thought we could play with some Neocolor IIs, some Inktense pencils, and I thought Mythic World in Kerby Rosanes was a great place to start. I love Kerby's books for using mixed media, especially Neocolor IIs and Inktense pencils. I had one of my sons pick out a page for me because I thought, why not? And he picked out this page here. So the idea is to create the tails white into a very deep dark red. Then the rocks around here in the skull will use similar colors, so maybe a very pale yellow into white. And then we're going to have a bright blue sky at the background with some green leaves, some brown trees, a bit of a color combo of green, red, yellow, and blue kind of going on. So I'm going to probably base the background with Neocolor IIs, and then the pencil work will probably be Inktense pencils. So for the sky, I'm thinking possibly going for a Prussian blue into an ultramarine kind of color. I think that could be a nice gradient. Yeah. I'm reluctant to create it very white around the center because there is going to be, the tails are going to be white. So I don't want to make it white on white because then it can disappear. So I'm going to get out my Prussian blue and my ultramarine Neocolor II pencils. So this is the ultramarine. And then I have here the Prussian blue. Now I'm going to show you something quickly. In this bag are my shavings from the Prussian blue crayon. What I do is I sharpen my crayon and then I collect the shavings and I put it in a bag, because I can then take this mix it with a bit of water and on a palette and create some paint, and then I can go in and use it up that way. That can also be quite handy when I'm going into very fine places. So if you want to save your Neocolor II crayons, this is one way you can do that. Okay. Maybe we can do the trees. Let me have a look. Let's see, can we do the trees with some Neocolor IIs? Because that could be quite nice. I don't need to deepen up the trees per se. So let's see, we could do all right, let's get out a Van Dyke brown. I will get out a Toledo brown. I don't think it's in this one. I've got a few spare extra pencils around. I have this set of, I think, 32, but I've been trying to grow my collection as I go. So I have like my little case, and then I've got a bag of extra crayons. Okay, so I need a moss green and a Toledo green. A Toledo brown, sorry. Using the wrong words. Now, previous experience, I found that going with pencil on top of Neocolor IIs doesn't really work for me. At least not yet. So I'm going to put that aside, and I'll use Inktense pencils for the other bits. Right, we are almost there. So I'm a bit late with the live stream today because I ended up with a very serious case of the hiccups. And I thought, no, there's no ways I'm going live and hiccuping. Hi Noelle, how are you? Hi Brittany. Hi Dee, welcome. It's great to have you. Okay, so let's get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the colors down first, and then I'm going to go in with the paintbrush. And I'm going to zoom you in so you can actually see it really nicely. Okay, there we go. So we'll start here and then we'll work our way down. Now what I'm finding is to try and make sure I go in with a second layer of Neocolor IIs. All right, so this is the Prussian blue. So you go in, you don't have to be exact, you're just getting the idea kind of going. And you're going to use your paintbrush to move everything into the places that you want it. All right, so I'm probably going to hop in and out of these two colors. If you have a masking fluid, you could probably use a masking fluid, and that would help you with these, you know, not get any color onto any of the objects you want to use pencil. Don't be afraid of putting down quite a lot of color. You won't lose out on your crayons. They actually go a lot further than you initially realize. So, you know, you don't have to be sparing with it. It's okay. I remember when I first got my Neo 2s, I was very worried about going through them quickly because they are so expensive. And then I watched someone's video and I realized that they do go a lot further than we think, which was very helpful because I felt a little bit better about putting a lot more color down. Brittany, it sounds like you've been having some challenges with your pencils, and hopefully it will all come right for you in the mail and with Colt pens. So like in these little spaces here, I don't need to put color. I can just use the tip of a paintbrush onto the pencil, pick it up and just dab in there. Hi Shani, how are you? I really didn't want to do another page with hectic light source, so I chickened out. The other winter page I do want to do on the channel as a live stream has, it's in Kanoke Goose's book with the church and the dogs and all the candles. I was like, no, I'm done. I need something a little bit less complicated. So why not do a Kerby page? Oh, wonderful. You use a palette. I'm sometimes in too much of a hurry, so I just dive in. Although doing a palette actually would give you a much smoother finish. Even with your Inktense, I remember coloring a whole page with Inktense pencils, and I found it definitely gives a much smoother finish to paint with Inktense off a palette than to go straight on with pencils. But it took me like 16 hours to finish that page, and it just, I don't know if it was worth it. Okay, let's move it down so I can carry on putting in this blue. Now, I'm going to lighten it as I go, so I'm not going to put as much. I'm going to use the same blue, but I'm going to lighten my pressure to create a gentler kind of look. Smoky stuff, I think. All right. It's not a whole lot down here. There's like bits of smoke. We've got fire falling, so yeah. We'll have to think carefully about the smoky bits. Okay. Hi, Carly. Yes, the guinea pigs are out. We didn't put them out today, so I quickly grabbed them and said, no, they need to be here and have a run. Plus, with the door closed and less activity in the house, they're more inclined to run around, which is, I suppose, better for them. They have been a bit inactive lately, and I'm hoping it's just the weather. Okay, I need a paintbrush. Right, so if you have a water brush, probably your best bet. Or very fine brushes. And a paper towel. The nice thing with this is it makes the background go by so quickly. So you can feel like a lot of coloring is being done. And if you have too much excess, you can just dab it off with, you dab your paintbrush onto a towel, paper towel or an old rag. So how was everyone's weekend? We had a relatively relaxed weekend in some respects. One child had a rugby game, so that was quite great to watch. They were really coming together as a team, which is always fun. I did some videos on Friday night, which was great, until I realized today that my one video I have to redo because it hasn't been focusing properly. So that's a bummer, but you know, what can you do? Sometimes what I do like to do is if I have too much paint on my paintbrush and there's an area where I know I need a little bit of that pigment, I can just go and dab it in those places, and that works quite well. Sometimes what happens is we can get too much color on the paintbrush. So that's just a small little tip when you're wanting to color with Neocolor IIs or even Inktense. Pretty much if you're used to Inktense pencils, there's a lot of how you would approach Inktense. You can use similar techniques with your Neocolor IIs. The nice thing with the Neocolor IIs, they don't dry into ink. So there is a little bit of that sort of like grace with them. All these little nooks and crannies, I tell you, it's like a recipe for concentration. Hey Jody, how are you? Yep, these things do happen and we do just carry on. Okay, I'm going out of the frame. Let me bring this down for you. There we go. Alright, so here I've got quite a lot of pigment on my paintbrush. So I can bring it here and I can start working in these little gaps because they're too fine for my crayon unless I sharpen it to a super sharp point. Now when this is dry, I'm going to go back in and do a second layer and touch up the places that are inconsistent. I don't know much about this particular character, mythological character. All I know is that it's a Korean character or mythological creature, but I haven't actually read up too much on it. She looks a bit like a keeper of the dead or something like that, like a guardian. So I'm taking my time because of all nooks and crannies. If you'd use painting like masking fluid, you could probably do this a lot quicker. So you could just put masking fluid over the areas you don't want paint, and then you could probably do this a lot faster. The first time I tried masking fluid, it was in a Creative Haven book, and I don't think it was the right paper. So when I tried to take the masking fluid off, some of the paper was removed at the same time. It was quite a thing. So I had to try paint on the bits of paper or color them back together. It was quite a mission. So I'm a little bit more tentative about doing that. Only because I don't want to tear the paper. And especially because these books are double-sided. I'm like, if I tear the paper here, I'm going to ruin the illustration behind it. Oh, it is annoying. It was my first time and I really panicked. Fortunately, it was a page I wasn't overly precious about. So I thought to myself, it's okay. I can either fix it or, just abandon it. But I decided not to abandon it. Give it a good shot at trying to fix it. I think I even took glue stick and I was gluing down the bits of paper. So like here, I'm going back in and I'm trying to blend this out, but in the process I can actually end up lifting color. You can put down a bit more in places. As you pick up, you can put more down in other places. I'm really not an expert at this. So if you want an artist approach, you'll have to go and find someone a bit more experienced and talented to walk you through the correct way of coloring with or painting with Neocolor IIs. This is just how I have learned to do it. Hi Dawn, how are you? Come back here because I want to put darker there. Okay, and I'll move here. I'm glad you are well. Oh, I'm sorry you're tired. I hope you get a good night's rest tonight. It's not always fun to be tired. Oh, I forgot this section here. My goodness. I got sidetracked. Okay, so I'm seeing along the edge here, there's a bit of sky, so I need to pick up enough pigments to kind of work on that. It's like really thin. The nice thing when we have things like paint pens or gel pens, if you make some of your paint go into other parts you don't necessarily want, there is always the option of trying to just touch it up afterwards with paint pens or gel pens or fine liner. Right, we are getting there, slowly but surely. Brittany, I hope that the trip with your parents is going to be productive for you and for your dad. Oh really, this is one of your favorite pages in the book. That's so awesome. What do you like about this page? So I must say, I think most of the World series in the Kerby Rosanes series, so Worlds Within Worlds, Fragile World, Mythic World, what's the other one? I'm not sure about Alien Worlds, but definitely the other three. I would really love to complete Once Upon a Time. I enjoy the illustrations so much more. I didn't bother getting Phantomorphia, Imagimorphia, or any of those things because I didn't like the hidden objects, and it also had like these cartoonish ghosts, which I just didn't see the point of. That's not to say that the people who color in them don't make beautiful colorings. I think the colorings are really pretty. I just wasn't ready for that, or couldn't get myself to the point of actually buying them. And I mean, if I'm really honest, it took me a while to actually get Mythic World and Alien World for slightly similar reasons. But when I first got Fragile World, I got it because I felt like it was a safe book to get. I started to understand why Kerby Rosanes was so popular. I find his books relaxing to color in and easy to color in. And the more I've colored in them, the more I've enjoyed them, to the point where I just went and got the rest of the books. So I'm probably now a Kerby fan. I still don't want to get the Morphia series, still not my cup of tea, but probably what he brings out from now on, I'm probably going to just go ahead and buy. Okay, I'm going to let the blues dry before I go in and put in another layer. As you can see, it's really splotchy. I forgot this bit here. So because it's splotchy, it needs another layer or two. But before we can do that, it does need to dry. And then we can go on top of it and layer it up. So I'm just gonna finish faffing around with this. And then we're going to move on to the trees, which I'm also going to do in Neocolor IIs, hopefully. And then I'll move on to the creature. I want to call her a lady, but I don't think that's probably the best descriptor for her. All right, so my olive green, I actually should have probably gotten out a raw umber. Oh yes, her tail is stunning. I love the version of the 9 tails. It's very cool. Okay, so I'm going to use moss green and olive. The olive will be my kind of like dark section, and the moss green will be my lighter section. We'll see how they go. I might have to bring in a bit of brown. I've moved to the dark side. Yes. Although, to be honest, the past year to 18 months, I've started wondering if the dark side hasn't been a bit suppressed. Now, there is a line to the dark side, but I don't know. Maybe I'm more into the dark side than I give myself credit. I'm still working it out, still figuring it all out. It's a journey, I tell you, a journey of just learning and discovery, whatever that looks like. I still haven't worked up the courage to do the Eastern Europe stage with the wolf and the other dude. Oh. So yeah, I've told my kids I'm going to, on that double page spread with the werewolf and then the other creature with the tongue sticking out, I'm going to take a page out of superheroes, you know, Carnage and all of that, Spider-Man. No, I worked out you were teasing me, don't worry. You're good. But yes, I'm planning on taking a thing out of Carnage, but I really can't, I struggle with that sort of creature. But I know the colors will work really, really well with that page. And I am still chicken. I'm like, no, not yet, not yet. I will do it. I just have to work up the courage to kind of like actually pay attention to the Venom and the Carnage pictures to, you know, use as color palette and all of that, because I want it like really dark red, almost black red, which my kids do not suffer the same what's the right word, trauma. They're like, Mom, it's cool. But in all honesty, even if we go, I don't know, to places, if there's a clown or a person dressed up, I really struggle. So, you know, it is what it is. Yes, I can. I think I can. I know I can. So I'm leaving a bit of white just to try and help me create some highlights. We'll see how this color combo works. If it doesn't work, I might try polys to go over it. That might work better. When you can't with crayons, you can with pencils or paint. So I'm just alternating between olive green and moss green. I've just realized I don't know what I'm doing. I am creating green trunks when I'm supposed to be making brown trunks. So yeah, I have no words right now. I have no words. I really don't. I guess my brain has decided that it is overriding and I have to do green trunks. Oh my gosh, it took me all this time to register. Okay, all right, well, I have no words. I really don't have any words. Why would I do green trunks? Oh my gosh. Like, seriously, why would I do green trunks? How in the world does this equate to sensible? Like, really, this is not sensible. I don't approve of myself right now. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm just gonna activate it. Can I rub it out? Oh my gosh. Moss covered tree, yeah. The question now is if I have a green trunk, what do I do the leaves? I could do them yellow. All right, I want to run away. See, this is what happens. I make a mistake and then I want to run away. Okay, so can't completely erase it. Okay, it's not going to really erase. Browns and yellows, yes, I think so. Oh. Okay, fine. It's done. Just embrace it. Don't run from the mistake. Embrace the mistake. It could be a happy accident. There we go. We're gonna hope it's a happy accident. Oh wow. Go over with brown pencils. Okay. All right, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm gonna just panic out loud and silently and then deal with it. The problem was my brain actually stopped and registered. I do sometimes genuinely wonder what it is about art when your brain actually switches off and you start just to color. You know, like sometimes you can put music on and you just listen to the music and you paint the music and you know you'll get a whole piece. I sometimes wonder what it is that drives the choices we make when our thinking part of our brain switches off and the creative side kicks in. Me, I'm okay. I'll be okay, I promise. I'm just reacting to myself. I'll take you guys on the journey with me. You'll get all sorts. I'm not very good at processing quietly. I tend to process out loud. But I like to think I don't back down from a challenge. So we'll just turn this into a challenge and embrace it. And it will be what it will be. We can do this. We can make this work. I have no idea how. Trust it. Yeah, I think that's the problem. I'm not always good at trusting the process. It took me years to accept that change is part of life, and the only way to really deal with it was to kind of like expect it and all of what it brings. Okay, I think I will fix, oh gosh, now I'm bringing blue into the trees. Oh my goodness, all right, let me bring it down for you. Okay, there we go. So now some of the blue from the sky is creeping in. Oh my goodness. Oh, colouring is awesome. I love it too, Debbie. No expectations, no disappointments. What about the subconscious expectations of, yes, I'm going to turn this into a beautiful page. It's going to look this way, and it's, yeah. I should title this video, Watch Me Make a Huge Mistake. Or happy accident or mistake, you decide. I don't know, maybe it's a good thing. I mean, what would, you know, I sometimes wonder, like, with social media, in general, it's, you know, best photo forward, best foot forward, you know, hours and hours of photographing the most beautiful picture. And it always shows the best side of people's lives in general. Sometimes I wonder how much more beneficial could it be if the not so perfect bits kind of were seen a bit more, you know, like making a mistake and fixing it, for instance. Maybe there's more lessons in the process than making another coloring page that just looks really good. I don't know. I'm literally, I'm talking out loud. So is slightly rhetorical. So if you don't want to answer, don't worry. This is where my brain can also go when I'm doing art, is unless I've got something to distract my brain or my brain has gone quiet, I will start thinking these sort of things, or deeper or darker, just depending where I am on the day. Let the subconscious drive it. Yeah, see, that slightly scares me. I don't think I trust my subconscious. I admire people who do, people who are able to let go and just embrace it, you know, or a bit more free-flowing. I think it's just so inspiring. Because I find that when they color or paint, they make the pages theirs. And it always looks amazing. That's how we learn. I'm always welcome for a chat. Exactly, no better way to learn than to fail. Green tree trunks. Seriously, I can't get over this. Oh my gosh, okay, I'm running away. I'm running away from this. Oh man, okay. I think it's still a bit damp. So I'm gonna switch to my Inktense and we'll work on the tail, and I can just ignore the rest and kind of like process silently what had just happened. But in all honesty, the more we lay down and kind of put the colors down, in some ways the better. Alright, so my child wanted dark red tails. So I'm going to just pop my swatch chart down here in front of y'all. Okay. So I'm thinking probably something like red oxide, madder brown. Actually, we could do a Shiraz. If I move this slightly up. All right, so there's the Shiraz with maybe a madder brown and a dark chocolate. That could probably work quite well. Okay, so where's the Shiraz? Here is the Shiraz. Very blunt. But that is okay. Dark chocolates, and then we want a madder brown. And then I want grays. So I'm thinking maybe we'll do a Payne's gray. I love Payne's gray. I tend to kind of gravitate to it if I can find it. But it's not in here, so I'm going to take my watercolor paints and I will use my watercolor paints instead, because I do have a Payne's gray there and I have a paintbrush. So okay, if you are coloring along with me and you don't want to use watercolor paint, then I'm just going to use a Payne's gray for the white part of the tails. I'm going to zoom you out a wee bit. Whoops. Okay. Maybe not that much. All right, there you go. A slight predicament. My youngest child decided today, after I read to him about Leonardo da Vinci and one of his commissioned pieces, it was a battle scene. So as I was reading it to him, I could see he was it was tickling all of his imagination. So he's gone today and painted a bit of a battle scene, but he uses my paints. So I'm just like quickly cleaning a section of the palette so I can put some Payne's grey down. Just a lovely greyish blue. I just love this color. And I'm mixing a slight bit of black into it, so it's a little bit darker. I could blow dry it, yes. My blow dryer is upstairs though, and I am worried about the amount of noise it would make for, you know, the video. I don't know if it would put people off. Okay, so one sec, I gotta stop the guinea pigs from chewing on a file. It's got, I think, yeah, it won't be good for them to chew on it. Okay, so I'm bringing my paintbrush with the Payne's grey. So nobody, Brittany, I think in some ways you are right. In other ways, I can just speak for myself. So nobody has taught me how to use these art supplies. I never had the privilege of going to an art school or even an art class. I am completely self-taught, and I find the more I practice, the more I understand things, or the more I, you know, through experimentation, I grow and I learn. I find I still need to teach myself. So by teaching myself, I can improve that way. I understand that's not necessarily how everybody else learns, it's just my experience personally. So in some ways, I would say that just learning and growing, you know, you do learn and you can grow, but I also understand that that can be harder for other people. I could have been taught, yeah, so like, I think some people need to be taught by a person going for lessons, because that's just better for how they work. And sometimes it's just a matter of practicing, and, you know, we just keep learning. So have you tried the Helen Elliston color effects? Because those are written coloring tutorials and they are really good. they might be beneficial for you, I don't know, but I do find them very enjoyable. Oh, thank you, Carly. You're very kind. Oh, Penny, Noelle's keeping quiet. I'm sorry if I said anything wrong or out of turn. It was not the intention. So I agree with you, Dee, in a lot of ways. I do agree with that because sometimes the best teacher is our mistakes, and you learn what not to do, and then next time you don't do that. So generally what I've noticed with whether it's coloring or painting, the principles really are very similar. All that really changes is the color palette you use, but the principles are pretty much the same. Oh, well done, Carly. You're not bummed by your Inktense page. I reckon people who can use Neocolor IIs and Inktense and even oil pastels, you are the bravest people in the whole wide world. And when you do it unashamedly, I applaud you. And I look at your pages and I think, oh wow, I wish I could do that. The only problem I've got with painting, watercolor paint on, I feel like on Kerby pages, I probably use too much water. But it's okay. We're getting the idea down and that's all that matters. I will probably have to use a Posca pen to help me make this white. Oh dear, I'm painting over her foxy ears. Oh dear. So we're getting some grey, but I think a nice white pencil over this would work really well. And then maybe white Posca pen and create like white highlights. So I put the watercolor paint down and then I quickly use water just to thin and blend out the watercolor paint. And I can always deepen the shadows up with pencil. I don't mind doing that. It's very cold there by you, Dawn. How cold is it? We had a cold weekend. It got to 2 degrees Celsius. Which, yes, it's relatively cold. It was a freshness in the air. Oh wow, that is cold. I hope you're staying nice and cozy and warm. Okay, so that's more or less the white side. So now I'm going to get the Shiraz and I'm going to kind of try and work this in. So I need it kind of lighter and then I can go darker further up the tail. I don't mind my pencils not having a sharp point. This way they won't create as many of those like yucky lines. So I'm kind of going for that. Oh, I'm glad you're indoors. I think I'll do gold on the kind of like outlinings, these like weird thingies on the tail. I think that could look pretty. You know what I love about the Kerby page is that the paper, it never really, no matter how much water you put, it doesn't seep through too badly. So it's quite versatile, which I really appreciate. You can throw a lot of water at it and it won't bleed through too quickly, which is so cool. Okay, so now I'm going to take my madder brown. I want a wee bit of Shiraz up here because it's a bit thinner. Probably get away with it. Alright, so just building up layers and then we'll activate it. Alright, and then I'm going to use my dark chocolate. And then if I need to, I can always tidy it up with pencil. I will try and keep my arm a little bit more out of the way. Those will be quite thin, that can be quite thin. Okay, now I'm going to activate that. So what I'm doing is, as I'm getting a lot of pigment on my brush, I'm just dabbing it off or rinsing it in my water, and I'm trying to use that to help me blend it as seamlessly as possible. But if it still needs pencil, I will go over it with pencil. But I'm hoping not to. I'm hoping I can make it deep enough to not need any pencil work. Well, that's handy news to know, Brittany. Right, so I don't mind how the tails are coming. I can always brighten them up with pencil or a brighter red. I think after I'm done this, the background should be dry enough to go in and hopefully deepen it up. So we're almost done activating all this Inktense, and then we'll let it dry, because as it dries, it actually, the color in some ways fades, so we get a better indication of whether we need more color or not. Bye Dawn, have a good day and a good week. Thanks for joining. Always lovely to chat to you. Right, I am almost done with these tails. I don't mind bringing the pink or the red a bit down into the white. It just adds a bit more of a blend into it. And I can always create more white by using a white pencil, white paint, whatever it is that we decide. I'd probably use a pencil first and then use a white paint pen to deepen up shadowy bits. Because what I don't want is there to be like grey, red, and then you've got a big white line. I want it to be a bit more natural looking. Are you in for a storm, Carly? Okay, so I missed the section here, and I'm going to use my dark chocolate at the tips. And then my madder brown. Wow, that's fast winds, 30 miles per hour. Has everything with the wildfires been, is everything okay now? Have they died down? Okay, so there's red tails. So now what I want to do is I want to deepen up my background. So I'm going to use my paintbrush, water, and crayon, and I'm going to pick up off my crayon. And I want to pick up quite a bit because I want quite a dark. Oh wow, that's quite hectic. The fires have died down, but you're having another event today through tomorrow. That sounds really stressful. And then you can see here how it just deepens. And I might need to do this several times. Right, let me bring this down a wee bit more. Oh wow, power might get shut off again within the next few hours. Gosh, that's really hard. So this is how, with your Neocolor IIs, you can make it much bolder, and you can smooth out your backgrounds or your painting. It just takes time, but if you're okay not to rush it and do a couple of layers, you can really get a nice smooth background. I'm still practicing, getting this right. Yes, they are. That's where color theory comes in. Red and green are opposite on the color wheel, green and blue next to each other. Throw in a bit of yellow. Yeah, technically speaking, we should be fine once I get over the initial shock of green tree trunks. Oh my goodness. It's fine. It's mythological. It's allowed to be different. Okay, so I'm going to get the ultramarine so I can kind of work this section. So I don't need to really clean off my brush too much. Yeah, I think it's going to work out okay. I won't change the trees. I will leave them green and I'll just work with it. Happy accidents, they say, so. Alright, so hold the two colors in my hand and off we go. So you can see here it's getting darker, but it's probably going to need another layer to smoothen it out. But I can do that off camera. It's really the same process, but each layer will just get darker. I think colouring with Elena and Karen from My Colourful Country Life, they also do this sort of technique. So if you do want to watch more videos, their channels do have this technique. I can unplug it, it's fine. Good night. I had the one child sitting in the room with me. He's the oldest, so he gets to stay up later and desperately trying to get his laptop plug unplugged, but he's fighting with it, and his wrist is injured from a rugby practice. So I've just told him not to worry, Mommy will unplug it, you can go to bed. I think if we can get this blue nice and saturated, everything is just going to pop really nicely. Well, that makes sense. Some schools would close due to the weather. We want to keep everyone safe. So the less water you have, the richer the color is, just like with watercolor paint. So some of the sparks of flame I am kind of painting over because I couldn't be bothered. I'm like, no, it's not working. Hopefully it stays light enough that I can see where they are, and I will use a paint pen or something like that to bring them back. Right, so I'm getting there very slowly. So you can see already it's deepening, it's darkening. This is kind of where we're going for and aiming for. Oh, thank you, Carly. Alright, so now I'm going to deepen up the bottom because I think it will just look better. So I'm going to make it the same intense color. Well, if I ever travel to the US, I know to make Texas a place to visit and California. Bye, Carly. Have a good day and week. Enjoy your dinner, and I hope that you stay safe with all these fires. I will definitely be thinking of you this week. It's always such a pleasure to hang out with you, and happy coloring. Okay, I'm going to zoom out so you can all see. The background, I think I am going to go over it again with another layer. But I think on next week, Monday, we can hopefully work on a bit more of the rest of the page. A wee bit more, there you go. Right, so that's how she's looking so far, and then the idea will be to bring some of the red from the tail onto her dress with a gold pen there and maybe gold jewelry up there, maybe gold and white. I'm not sure yet. There's smoky stuff around her, so I'll have a look at reference photos and see what happened there. But then I'm thinking a pale yellow, or maybe like a beige yellow for the work here and on the skull, and then reddish orange or something like that for these flaming bits around here. So that's the ideas. We'll see how it goes, but yeah, thanks for hanging out with me and for chatting. I hope that you all have a great week ahead of you. If you are in the areas where there's fires, please stay safe. I am going to be thinking of you all, and I hope that your week is still good. Until next time, everyone, take care, and I'll see you in a different video. Bye for now.